Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Great to have you in on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio. We are presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Hope you're doing all right. We are loaded up. Plenty of thoughts here on the Nebraska Carousel. More names, and the name in that chair now, Coach Mickey Joseph. We'll hear from him. Had his introductory press conference today. And guess what? They tackled this morning. So that might be a bit of new hope for you as a Nebraska fan for Saturday against Oklahoma. We'll transition into the name game, or from the name game to the game, as it is Nebraska-Oklahoma, two legends that squared off yesteryear, and they were part of some amazing teams. Joe Washington is going to be in town, Sooner great. Tony Davis, the pride at Tecumseh, is fantastic. Both are going to be at an event coming up Thursday. So we'll talk to Tony Davis, Joe Washington coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. A Tuesday with Kaz. Rick Kaczenski with us, longtime Nebraska assistant, Iowa assistant. We'll get Kaz's perspective because he had to live through this as a member of Bo's staff, where there was the interim situation with Coach Cotton for the Holiday Bowl after Bo was terminated post-Iowa. So we'll get Kaz's perspective on the Nebraska job, the transition, making sure the kids are okay, so to speak. So that is in hour two. Mitch Sherman in about 20 minutes. Room for you. Most of hour one is open. If you still want to chime in, there's so many of you we didn't get to yesterday that just... It was a good vent session with Nebraska football and where things are at post-Frost and with the national search, right? There's names to get into, so you're absolutely welcome to join us and also check us out on email, chris@hailvarsity.com. But the numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, or toll-free, 1-800-825-5865. Give us a follow. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt, and also the Hail Varsity Twitter at Hail Varsity, and then also the radio Twitter. Give that a follow as well at H Varsity Radio. More and more things coming out about Coach Frost, depending on where you look and who you listen to. Hurrdat Sports does an amazing job as well, and they had a chance to get caught up with Michael Severe. So we may have some of Severe's thoughts on that you've probably seen on social media. Michael's a dear friend. And it is Press Conference Tuesday, right, Elijah? Press Conference Tuesday means the world of college football gets to be asked about the Nebraska job. So what does some of the names on the perceived short list of candidates, what do they think of the Nebraska job? What's Kleiman think of the Nebraska job at Kansas State? What's Matt Campbell think of the Nebraska job at Kansas State? What does Campbell think of it at Iowa State? They both were at the media today, their respective press conferences. Lance Leipold was asked about Nebraska. Who else am I missing? Yeah, Leipold, Campbell.
They cat over NC State.
Oh, yeah, Doran.
Yeah.
So it is.
There's so many names on the list right now.
Well, we have the responses ready for you. Who's with us to get it kicked off?
We've got Sue on the line.
Sue, thanks for calling. Welcome into Hail Varsity. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I've gotten the magazine for several years.
Well, thanks.
Question, haven't heard anything about Matt Davison. Is he still around, and is he still going to be on the broadcast, or will he leave when Scott leaves?
I don't know.
He's been moved. I do know from the associate AD for football, not associate AD.
Whatever his right-hand man title was.
And he's been moved to fan relations.
Yeah, he's doing fundraising stuff. I haven't heard that he's not on the broadcast. I think he'll probably still be on the broadcast. So
okay. Well, I was just curious because he, had a part, I'm sure, to bring Scott here, and I didn't know. I don't know. I think it would be kind of hard for him to be fair on the radio now because of his love for Scott. So
I think Matt's a professional, and Matt'll continue to do a good job.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, Sue. Thanks for the phone call. So that's a question about the broadcast. Numbers to get in at 466-377-6800, 825-5865. Mickey Joseph was in front of the media today. Coach Mickey Joseph, his gig to earn, his gig to have right now. And, Mickey is a guy that is going to bring a lot of passion. He's going to bring a lot of discipline, and he's going to bring some changes, Elijah. And some of those changes include style and habits. And Nebraska, specifically, as you look at the Big Red on Saturday, they're going to be different, and different can be good. Different can mean more press coverage. Different can be more aggressiveness defensively. And Coach Chenander's working more with the safeties. You've got Coach Fisher spending more time with the cornerbacks. That is one adjustment. And, Nebraska fans and Nebraska, they've not been happy with the defense. That's been the Achilles heel so far. The offense through 3 weeks has put up enough points to win 3 games. They're 1-2. You need complementary football, but it's a all 3-phase deal. You need a little bit more from special teams. Punting's been fine, but other than that, special teams hasn't given you an edge. They've not lost it for you, but they haven't made some plays to go maybe help you win it. All right. Defensively, too many yards on the ground, too many yards through the air. You're not shutting one element of an offense down. You're not getting after the quarterback. There's minimal tackles for loss, and there are way, way, way too many missed tackles. Tackling in space is a mother. It's tough. It's difficult. Totally get it, but that's why you tackle in practice. And Mickey Joseph spent some time on that. Let's get into Mickey before we get into some of these candidates that spoke and were asked about Nebraska. Mickey Joseph laid things out, his opening statements today at his weekly press conference, and it's all about the kids Saturday and beyond.
My number one focus, the staff focus, is the boys, is the players, that we make sure that they're okay. I appreciate Trev and administration for showing faith in me to lead the program. This is about Nebraska football. It's bigger than me, than anyone else. And I want y'all to understand that. It's bigger than me than anyone else. I want to thank the fans for continuing to support us and to ride with us and to stay with us through thick and thin. They've done that. I want you to know this is a great opportunity for me and my family. We understand that. We're here to represent the University of Nebraska to the fullest.
So Mickey has a couple of things working. One, it's in line with Trev's final statement on Sunday. No one person's bigger than the program. And Mickey, his messaging is, hey, this is about the program. And what is the program? It's the kids. It's the kids and it's the fans. More from Mickey, because the other part of this, too, is the guy's been a head coach briefly, but he's got a good resume. And the thing that's most impressive about Mickey Joseph is his relationship building. He's a sincere, real guy. And that's been proven on the recruiting trail. That's been proven as a position coach. And that's been proven at his different stops. But this is also why you get into coaching. So eventually you have a chance at being the head man at a spot. And it'd be a dream scenario to do well enough, not only just to be considered, but to get this job. While there is a national search, you've got this audition for 9 games. Mickey goes further into the opportunity he's been working for his whole career.
I think when you accept the interim job as a head coach, I think that's the opportunity that you're working for, is to become the head coach. But we understand what goes along with this profession. It's wins and losses, and that's what it's going to depend on.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what Coach Frost was missing, was the wins and how you handle those tight moments. A couple of emails to get to as more names come down the list, and people love the name game, Elijah, the speculation of, well, who would you go after if you're Trev Alberts? I mean, they've been playing that game around the water cooler, at the bar, at home. It's pretty prominent. Austin emails in, Chris@HailVarsity.com. How about a new prodigal son? Lane Kiffin.
I hope somebody would go here today.
Technically, Lane was born in Lincoln in 1976.
I hope somebody would go here today,
because the full Monty was at Nebraska before he went to, God, where did Monty go? I think he went to Washington State, and then Monty might have been at Miami. He followed Warren Powers, okay? And then Monty's as good as it gets NFL mind-wise. He's phenomenal. He went to the Vikings forever and then won a Super Bowl with Tampa, and Monty's pride of Lexington, you know. Lane, though, so, you know what, as Austin says, can we just open the checkbook? Bring Lane back home.
And we've talked about the baggage with Urban. The baggage with Lane is almost more. Because I have some insight.
Listen, tell me the insight on Lane in 2 seconds.
Yep.
Lane's been a professional for a while. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, he did the Saban rehab, went to Florida at Atlantic, and he's killed it at Ole Miss. And he's not, I mean, Ole Miss is a place that's always kind of had trouble follow them. Mm-hmm. And yet you freeze. Now you can pretty much do what you want through NIL. And Ole Miss has been good. Ole Miss is challenged. They haven't taken Bama down like you freeze, and that's another name that we got in the email box is you freeze. He's a hell of a good coach, but the alleged missteps by him may be a little bit different than getting fired on the tarmac at USC.
And let me just say, with the type of place Lincoln is, Lane just doesn't fit. Trev talked about a high character individual. I'm not saying he's not, but I mean, I've been to Oxford only a couple of times, and I have seen Lane Kiffin in downtown Oxford. They got a place.
Well, he was looking for you.
He was not looking for me. He was looking for some beautiful women.
And guess what?
There's nothing wrong with that, but like, I mean, I've received.
It's not hurting his win percentage down there.
It's not, but this is like a type of thing where Lane Kiffin is hanging out with the college kids in downtown Oxford every single weekend, where he's got a beautiful woman or two on each arm, and I'm getting pictures from my buddy down in Oxford. Like, hey, look, there's Lane hanging out with the college kids, buying the bar a round of shots. Like, nothing wrong with it in the world, but I just don't think that's a match for Lincoln.
You don't want your college football coach doing that, is what you're telling me?
I just don't think that Lane being at the brass rail every single weekend is going to work out.
Well,
there's a scrutiny that comes along with that I don't think is going to work in Lincoln.
There's social media, there's the fishbowl, but there's also, I'm not saying there's not a fishbowl at Ole Miss, but Nebraska's an aquarium. You know what I mean? I mean, as far as the number of eyeballs on you. To your point, right. You're just wondering, would Lane want to dump Ole Miss in the middle of really good recruiting land and move back to Nebraska for a job that is going to be scrutinized? And then if you have a certain lifestyle you like, being out with the people, you know,
we saw how a guy like Bill Moose was scrutinized for that comment of, I like being out with the people. I want to go get a beer with somebody at a bar. People in Nebraska are going to scrutinize that. It's going to be looked at heavily.
People are just going to chirp.
And let's be honest, I think
what's
Lane's
truth and what's rumor.
I think Lane's pretty happy down in Mississippi.
No, he's winning. He's winning and he's recruiting, and it's going well. It's going very well.
I just want to say right now, it ain't happening. Lane to Lincoln ain't happening.
No, and that's not somebody that Trev would would go after.
I don't think Lane would be interested in Lincoln, and I don't think Trev would be interested in Lane. I think it's a two-way street of this. That ain't happening.
But Austin, thank you for the email.
Thank you for giving me something to talk about, because I was hoping somebody would say Lane, because I got the insight.
Todd emails it. Well, just stay. Look, me and Lane are close. We've hung out. We've had a couple of beers. and Lane is...
I've seen him from across the bar. Is
quite happy.
The extent is I've seen him from across the bar and been like, wow, you wouldn't be able to do that in Lincoln.
No, there's a lot of things you wouldn't be able to. You trade. You trade off. Mm-hmm. Todd emails in Chris@HaleVarsity.com. Coach Fickle from Cincinnati should be on Trev's radar. Wish Mickey the best of luck, but defense has to do a 180 this week, or we're going to get destroyed by Oklahoma. GBR, that is from Todd. Todd, appreciate it. You have PJ Fleck that weighed in, had a kinder, gentler no towards Nebraska. What did Lance Leipold say? What did Matt Campbell say? What did Kleiman say about Nebraska? They were all asked. What about Jim Leonard? What was he asked about? He was asked about Nebraska. What did he say? We'll have all of their responses coming up here shortly with their press conferences. But Greg emails in Chris@HaleVarsity.com. I don't care who the coach is as long as they win. Love how Urban Meyer and PJ's names, that's Fleck, get the masses riled. People can't stand Fleck, but he's a heck of a developer and he wins. And Urban is very divisive.
Urban is Urban.
He is.
He's his own guy.
And we'll talk to Rick Kaczenski here in 1 hour about Urban, because Urban got his start as an assistant under Lou Holtz and then Bob Davie. And Kaz and Urban know one another, so we'll get that feel. Mitch Sherman's on the way. Hale Varsity continues, presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. It's Hale Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We will dive into Nebraska, Oklahoma. Tony Davis, Joe Washington, 35 minutes away. And then a Tuesday with Kaz, part of that transition in 2014. Good insight from Kaz. We say hi to Husker insider Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how much hot tea or coffee have you had today, bud? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Coffee, probably about my normal amount or a slight bit more, but otherwise I'm good. I'm good. As long as everything stays on track, I'll be ready to go well before kickoff on Saturday.
That'll be good. You had a chance to observe Mickey's press conference today. Some changes structurally that Trev hinted at. What did you think of Mickey in front of the mic today?
Really businesslike. I thought he probably accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, and that was to get his point across that he's here to take care of business, to get what he can get fixed on this team, to address some things right away on defense, to look at their practice schedule, to take a hard look at what's happening in the operation that he thinks can be adjusted on the fly and make this a better football team. He didn't make it too much about himself. Thought there was a good balance there. He kind of gave short answers and shied away from too many questions about the personal side of this, because obviously it's a huge personal thing for Mickey Joseph to be the first black head coach in any sport at the University of Nebraska. He knows that he's representing a lot of people. It's a huge deal for him just to be in that chair, to be in that position, to have risen to this level in his career. And I think he understood the moment that today it could have been about him, but he shined a light on the players, and that was a classy move. He didn't necessarily need to do that, but I thought he handled himself really well.
Mickey's always seemed pretty selfless, and you had a feature. We talked last week about your story on Mickey and coming back to Nebraska. Great story from you on The Athletic, Mitch Sherman. But now all the people you talk to, we fast forward 7-10 days. Man, I mean, look where he's at now.
Right. I mean, I'm glad I wrote that story when I did, and that was about Mickey's decision to come back as an assistant coach, and looking at his history from the time that he was recruited Barry Switzer and Tom Osborne, and the decision that he made and why he made it and why he chose to come to Nebraska, and how it's, well, for one, how it led him to the point a couple of weeks ago to get on that field against North Dakota in his first time at Memorial Stadium on a Saturday afternoon in 30-plus years. But now, you're right. Look at where he's at just 10 days later. It's been quite a past few months for Mickey Joseph and his family. And I know that they all have a lot of emotions that he's reached this place, and everybody is hoping that we get to see something special over these next 9 games. It's a lot to ask, considering what he's taking over and some of the issues that exist for Nebraska, especially on the defensive side after that game on Saturday. But he's going to give it a shot, and as Trev Alberts said, there's an opportunity here for these players to, I think, remove a burden, and they can kind of feel like Mickey will inject some kind of enthusiasm, or just some kind of a new voice that can help Nebraska move forward.
Mitch Sherman with us here on a Tuesday edition of Hail Varsity Radio. And Mitch, what do you make of the selection by Trev that Mickey is going to be the interim guy? I don't think it's entirely unsurprising because of Mickey's title as associate head coach, but still, you have a guy in Mark Whipple that does have head coaching experience, and to me, this is what signals that Trev is seriously considering Mickey being the guy going forward. Is that how you read this situation as well?
Well, I think he wants to give him a chance. Trev and Mickey were teammates, and they have a long history. And, I think Trev knows that it's probably a tough hill to climb for Mickey to get to the place where, at the end of this, he outshines everybody who's an outside candidate, including coaches who may want this job, who have years and years of experience running Power 5 programs or even just FBS programs. So, we don't know how that's all going to come down. But, with Whipple, that may have been the easier choice to make. He has head coaching experience himself, but I do think that this is part of the Alberts Joseph relationship. And Trev was forward thinking in helping Scott Frost bring Mickey Joseph to Nebraska last December, and he has to think about all of the contingencies. And I can't say I had inside information that he knew that Mickey would be put in this position if it came to this moment. But I do think it's something that Trev considered when that they could get to this place. I mean, we all know that Frost was on thin ice this year. That's 100% apparent with his firing after 3 games, and Trev had contingencies and knew what he wanted to do. So I would imagine that he ran through this in his mind many months ago. Whipple has an offense to run, and that's what he's going to focus on for these next 9 games.
Mitch, let's go to those outside candidates, the names. We're going to play the hit list for our listeners next segment, because everyone's asked about the Nebraska job today or yesterday. But some of the names that are out there, give me 3 or 4 names that you're intrigued by that you think could fit in Lincoln, just knowing the college football world on a national scale like you do.
Well, I would start with Matt Campbell. Mm-hmm. I think the work that he's done at Iowa State is, I can't say enough about him personally as a coach and the job that he's done there. It's not just about winning 7, 8, 9 games. It's about the place he's at, the challenge that he has, some of the recruiting challenges that he has, and the way that he builds a program. So, look, we're not crowning anybody as the leading candidate or the top candidate, and I certainly don't know the direction that Trev Alberts is pointing, but that's how I feel about Matt Campbell. From having spent some time with him in my reporting days at ESPN, I would say some of the same things about Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. I've spent time with him since his move right away, right after his move from North Dakota State to Manhattan. I was in his office and spent some time at K-State, and he's an impressive guy and obviously has a championship pedigree. and is making outstanding progress at Kansas State. So, and there's a history with Alberts and Kleiman. So I think they'll talk, whether it's for advice or whether it's because Trev is looking at him as a candidate. And, I'd also look at the other Power 5 coach in the state of Kansas and Lance Leipold at KU and the job that he's doing already in this short time. This is just his second year at Kansas. And, of course, Lance has Nebraska connections and also a championship pedigree from his days in D3 at Wisconsin Whitewater, and did good work at Buffalo. He recruited Kyle Van Treese to Buffalo, the guy who just tore through the Nebraska defense 3 days ago. So, you can go all kinds of different places with other names, and I think there's a connection that goes way back between Trev and Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator at Alabama. He will talk to a lot of people, but if I'm going to start with a big board, I'm probably looking at some of the guys who coach at schools in this region, and then you can kind of go out from there.
Who is Mitch Sherman's dark horse candidate? And please don't say Lane Kiffin.
No, I wouldn't go with Lane Kiffin.
Thank you.
Well, they're all dark horses at this point, Elijah. Like there isn't like a clubhouse leader. There's not a guy who's out in front, but I guess I'd say somebody like Matt Rule. I think Matt Rule is maybe unattainable for Nebraska. I think if he has success, any kind of success, short of getting fired mid-season with the Carolina Panthers, it's a really difficult one. It would be a difficult one, I would say, for Trev to pull off. But if that happens and the Panthers have a bad season and they want to make a change in, say, November, I think he immediately comes on the radar. I think that means that his next landing spot is back in college. Right now, there's only one college job open, so the match could be made. When and if that point arrives where he's looking for a job and he's looking for a college job, there's likely going to be several college jobs open. So then it comes down to, it would come if you're Nebraska and you're interested in him, it comes down to whether he wants to entertain that. He has some Big Ten roots, not Nebraska roots, but, of course, coached at Baylor and has connections at Penn State.
Mitch, about 90 seconds. Thoughts on Saturday. What do you expect to see?
I think Nebraska will be fired up, maybe more so than what we've seen at any point this year. They were fired up in Ireland. I think there's going to be something different about the emotion that they're playing with on Saturday. Now, can that make a difference against Oklahoma? Because Oklahoma's going to come out fired up too. They're in this honeymoon phase with Brent Venables, just their third game. And, you remember Venables is cut from the cloth of Bob Stoops. And in those early days, early years under Bob Stoops, 99, 2000, 2001, you remember the kind of energy that Oklahoma brought to the field. It was like you would walk out of the tunnel and it felt like you were down 14-0 against the Sooners. And I know that didn't happen last week in Oklahoma's second game of the year against Kent State. They got off to a slow start. But I feel like that's the way that Oklahoma is going to play under Brent Venables. So Nebraska's going to not just have to match that, but try to find some way to exceed it. It's a tall task considering everything that Nebraska has gone through and the team that it has right now to beat Oklahoma. They're not playing Alabama, they're not playing Georgia, but it's a very, very good Oklahoma team that's capable of putting up a lot of points and playing good defense. So, we'll see. I'm anxious to see if Nebraska can stay in the game and make it something like what happened last year. And then maybe you get to the fourth quarter, and the different voice on the sideline allows you to somehow get over that hurdle in a close game.
Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Be sure to read him. Great coverage. Always, but the last few days with Trev, with Scott, and, of course, now with Mickey. Mitch, we will see you Saturday for Nebraska-Oklahoma, bud.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you. Good stuff from Mitch Sherman. What do some of those coaches, those external candidates have to say about the Nebraska gig? You will hear from Kleiman. You'll hear from Campbell. You'll hear from Jim Leonard. You'll hear from Lance Leipold. All parts of their presser today. Hail Varsity continues, presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time at Hail Varsity, presented by Currency. Tuesday with Kaz coming up. Rick Kaczenski, longtime Nebraska former assistant. His take on the transition. And Tony Davis, Husker great, Joe Washington, Sooner legend. That in the 5 o'clock hour. Tomorrow, Barry Switzer, our conversation with the Bootlegger's boy. Numbers to get in, 466-377-6800, 825-5865. More thoughts on the external candidates. But are you wanting to go see the Sooners and Huskers on Saturday? How about Dave Matthews coming up in November? Red Zone tickets. RedZoneTickets.com. Need tickets or need to sell tickets? Red Zone Tickets buys and sells tickets for all types of events. That's Husker football, Husker volleyball, big match tonight against Stanford for the Big Red. NFL action, Creighton basketball, concerts, theater, the CWS. And I tell you what, RedZoneTickets.com. Log on today and find the event you want to see. Red Zone Tickets is Omaha proud and reliable. It's a local source, local people, great people, and an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. 100% guarantee on all your orders, and you'll receive authentic tickets and experiences you'll never forget. Love that moment where Junior shifted from get me a toy to take me to a ball game, right? And that was great, and we get to do that a lot. It's time to check that bucket list off, create memories that last a lifetime. Get to the event, the game, the concert you want today. RedZoneTickets.com, RedZoneTickets.com. Okay, Elijah, you've said no to Lane. Maybe he just snubbed you, or he weren't included in the round bot down at Ole Miss. I won't dig hard for details.
Don't get me wrong. I love Lane, and I think he could find success at Nebraska.
What's Hugh Freeze do for you?
I like Hugh Freeze.
He's a JV level Urban. Like you're gonna win. You're gonna win with Hugh. You're gonna win with Urban. What are you sacrificing? And listen, track record says trouble. Track record says trouble or not longevity. The question is this: if you entertain Urban or you, and they don't last as long as you'd like, you want someone here for a decade at least, right? You don't want to keep doing this reset every 3, 4, 5 years. Is there an assistant on their staff that is money, right? Ohio State's always upgraded or maintained. Okay, once they got rid of Tressel, Tressel came in and killed it, right? Well, what did they do after Tressel? They gave Fickell a year, and he was quite happy to go back at that time of his life to D.C., and then they go get Urban. And then Urban has health issues, and then here comes Day. They just keep on rolling. It's been an embarrassment of riches with their transitions the last 25 years. So what do several coaches have to say about the Nebraska gig? Names that are out there by national reporters. Well, what's Matt Campbell have to say? Matt Campbell on the Nebraska job, he's in a lot of people's top 3.
Nebraska fired Scott Frost over the weekend, as I'm sure you saw. It seems to be part of at least a growing or maybe persistent trend in college sports of firing a coach. At least in part, it seems to get ahead of the hiring cycle. Right. The Big 12 saw it last year at Tech, TCU. I'm curious what your thoughts are, the impacts of that for both the industry of college football and your profession of college coaching.
Well, we've already talked about my thoughts on the thoughts of college coaching. It's crazy. It is, and it is what it is, right? I think I could probably get into this deep at some point, and now maybe not the time, but I just think what's unfortunate is, again, what is it about? It's still about 18 to 22-year-old young people, and it's about serving, caring, loving, guiding these young people through this journey. Now, it so happens that, man, it's watched and a lot of people want to see your team win, and all those things happen, and people are getting paid a lot of money. I get all those things. But I think one thing that we have lost our way is with the impact that it still has on 18 to 22-year-olds. And, whether that's the coaches have lost their way on the impact that they have on 18 to 22-year-olds, our industry has, I think getting those things back in the box and still providing platforms, environments, and cultures that allow young people to grow, that's really got to be our job and responsibility, whether it's an athletic department problem, whether it's a head coach problem. I still think right now what's going on creates a great challenge.
So some of you heard Matt Campbell there. Let's try Lance Leipold.
Sure.
Okay. Lance Leipold, Kansas, was asked about the Nebraska gig.
Lance, let's get one out of the way and then talk about Houston. I just wonder if you've seen and have any reaction to your name coming up on those lists at Nebraska.
I'm focused on this football team and getting ready for Houston, but appreciate you asking.
Okay.
No comment. H-Town, ranked H-Town on the schedule. So we switch gears. Kansas State, Chris Kleiman, North Dakota State, multiple-time champion. He's been down in the Little Apple for a bit, and he was also asked about Nebraska.
Your name's being linked with the Nebraska job. Thoughts?
For starters, Scott Frost is a friend of mine. I hate to see it because that's part of the profession. I don't know what's going on at Nebraska or what has gone on. I've talked to Scott a few times during his time there, but I really like it here at Kansas State. I love our players, love our guys, and pretty simple for me. I can just say one name, and that's Gene Taylor. Gene's my guy.
Okay, so you have that situation with the AD who brought him in, great relationship, and now we switch gears from Kleiman and Leipold and Matt Campbell. Jim Leonhard from Wisconsin, the hot DC in the conversation.
I mean, I understand it. I don't really pay too much attention. I get a lot of texts and calls about it. It's funny. There was a lot of verified, kind of random sources out there yesterday that I had taken jobs. It was pretty funny to see. But I mean, I've talked it a lot, man. I'm comfortable here. I'm not saying that this is the place I'll be the rest of my life, but I love this place. I love what we're doing. I like the guys and who I'm coaching with. So I'm not in a rush to make decisions that I think some people think I am. So I'm excited to right the ship. Coming off a loss, don't like where we're at. That's my focus right now. I'm not worried about anything else. And it's kind of crazy to see, within the course of seasons, these decisions being made. Obviously, more and more year in and year out, which just adds to more and more speculation when games are being played where that really wasn't the norm not too long ago.
So Leonhard is not locking himself into being a career defensive coordinator. He's too young to do that. But Jim Leonhard's, he's open, man. Barry Alvarez, we asked him last year. It's like, Jim's ready now. Where will that be? Is he the next guy at Wisconsin? We'll wind down hour one. Tony Davis, Joe Washington coming up, Rick Kaczenski. Hail Varsity continues. We're presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Hail Varsity Radio is presented to you by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Podcast, Hail Varsity Radio. Check that out. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And, of course, the show streams on YouTube. And you can get the podcast there, Hail Varsity Radio. And love your feedback. Love your input. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. Don't give us too ugly. or go for it. But plenty of great stuff yesterday from Charlie McBride. Check that podcast out. Good stuff on the way from Rick Kaczenski, longtime assistant in Nebraska. Gets pretty real on what it's like to be part of a transition, right? Because right now Nebraska's got a staff in transition, and the hope for Mickey and this crew is to win enough to make Trev make a decision on you versus the outside candidates. That's the hope. And Mickey's been busting his tail a long time. And Mickey was pure class in his press conference today. We had a bit of that for you to get things kicked off. Numbers to get in can join us at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Toll free if you want to dial and catch us from wherever you hear us around the state on the Hail Varsity Radio Network. So in this second hour, you're going to want to chime in for your friend Tony Davis and Joe Washington. This week is about opportunity for Nebraska. It's about opportunity for Mickey. It's about opportunity for the players. It is number 6, Oklahoma. Number 6, Oklahoma, who's not running the football. Now, everyone's been able to run the football against Nebraska. Does that change with a new voice and some tweaks defensively? Offense has been going the right direction. That arrow's been pointing up for Nebraska. Vegas says 11.5. We'll get Switzer's take tomorrow on the Big Red, on Mickey Joseph, on Scott Frost, all of that. And I love the fact that OU's here anyway, right? Part of my childhood, part of many of your childhoods. Not always great memories, a lot of heartache there, but real opportunity to go get a top 10 pelt. Last time that happened when? Well, year 1 O'Reilly. Night ball game, Sparty. Brandon Riley, come on down. And I know enough Michigan State people that every year for the holidays, I say, hey, I've got this red number 87 jersey I can get a hold of. Would you like it? I've got 3 people in my life that are diehard Spartan fans. And it always really sets them off. Maybe I'm the anti-holiday shopper for you. I want to remind you to get buckled up. And it is imperative for you to put the beer down, know your limit. You drink, you drive, you lose. And that is a fact, especially when it comes to getting it cranked up, some tailgates or post-ball game fun at the bars, right? At the bar. We'll be there Saturday. Be wise. Don't drink and drive. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. More emails next hour. More your phone calls next hour. And plenty more on Nebraska, Oklahoma in this transition. Hail Varsity continues hour 2, presented by Currency.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, Oklahoma, Nebraska week. 2 legends with us. Not Chris Schmidt, not Elijah Herbel, but, of course, Tony Davis and Joe Washington, Sooner great Joe Washington, Husker great Tony Davis. Guys, how are we feeling? It's Oklahoma, Nebraska week, and you're both going to be in town in Lincoln this Thursday as you're down at Jake's Cigar Bar. Cigar of the Century going on. Tony, you got a little coffee going. Good to spend time with you again. It's been too long, Tony. Last time we were out in front of Joe Washington's Cigar Bar in Norman about a year ago.
That's right. And wonderful event. This is going to be a really good event. A lot of former Nebraska players, former OU players will be there, and friends, Lincoln friends. A lot of my friends want to meet Joe, so I got several thousand going to come down and bug him. So.
Well, that'll be good. That'll be good. Joe Washington is with us, Sooner great, All-Pro and All-American. Joe, when's the last time you've been to Lincoln?
Well, we had it. The last time we played 09? Nebraska. Yeah. I came up then, and with me, it's definitely nostalgic because one of the reasons I chose Oklahoma was the fact that they played on big stages with great teams, and the teams had great players. I saw the game of the century in '71. I was a senior in high school, and it's just a game that for the most part you expected to see every day at every year in Thanksgiving, and usually it was it was you were playing for the championship of not only the Big Eight conference but for the national championship. So it's it breaks my heart, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a crime that Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play each other every year.
Joe Washington with us, Tony Davis with us, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. Thursday, 6:30, down at Jake's Cigar and Spirits, 14th in downtown Lincoln, 14th Street, North 14th Street. We all know where Jake's is at, and Tony Davis, Joe Washington, and friends going to be there. Autographs, and of course, Joe and Tony, before we get into football here real quick, let's talk about your cigar, Joe and Tony. You, of course, give it approval.
Go ahead, Joe. It's your idea.
Well, first of all, I always defer to Tony when we're talking about cigars anyway. Hey, he knows a lot more about them than I do. I just like to, sit with him and act like I'm cool with a cigar in my Hey, and one of the reasons, we chose the name. I was sitting with some guys that I smoke with down in Oklahoma, and he said, we ought to do I don't know, what do you call it? Do your cigar, come up with a cigar for you or whatever, and call it Smoke Through a Keyhole. And I say, Smoke Through a Keyhole, I kind of like that. And the reason for that is Coach Darrell Royal used to call me that, Smoke Through a Keyhole. And one of the reasons he says he did this was because back during the old days and, in the Westerns and everything, these guys are sitting in a room and they're gambling in a smoke-filled room. So what they would do while they're gambling and smoking and whatever, they put their guns on the table, lock the door, so that only smoke could, smoke. The only way you can get out would be smoke through a keyhole. So I say, gee, I kind of like that. Didn't, care too much about, me being I guess, the owner of the cigar or whatever. But I'd say, okay, I guess you have to trade off, get the name and do that. But it was neat, and Tony had a lot of input on, what was taking place and how we were going about it. Because, like I say, I didn't know a great deal. Only thing I want to do, like I say, is me and Tony sit together and be cool and, and smoke up cigars and blow bubbles and all those circles and stuff like that. So, so that was how it came about, and we do different things every year. This past year, we had the Cigar of the Century, commemorating, the I guess what was 50 years of the
Game of the Century.
Game of the Century. Yeah. So we did that, and it was fun. A great design for the box, the cigar box, and we've had a lot of fun with it. This year, it's been this box. This year we did was celebrating 50 years of me painting my shoes silver. So that was pretty cool. And we try to do different things, and hopefully, the cigar remains, pretty good.
It's Joe Washington, All-American, Sooner great, Tony Davis, Husker, All-Century performer, and Husker great. Nebraska, Oklahoma, the clash returns to Memorial Stadium. Joe and Tony going to be at the great spot down at Jake's Cigar and Spirits, 14th Street, North 14th, Thursday at 6:30. So the autographs and cigars. So that's a party going on Thursday night. Tony, you love Nebraska football, man. You loved the matchups, the opportunity against Oklahoma, and man, you had some ball games against some great teams. I'm interested in your take right now, the climate of Nebraska football. It's been a crazy weekend for Nebraska.
Yeah, it has been. I believe, Chris, that the time was right. I think it was the time to turn the page. It was we had the worst record we've had in maybe the history of Nebraska football over the last 3 years. We can't. Nebraskans are very proud of their football, and it's an identity that they cling to. We kind of thrive on this. We were proud of being tough, hard-nosed football players and tough, hard-nosed state and people who are good people, but we're going to be tough. And when we don't have that, it's we still pack the stadium, we still support our clubs, we still support all the Nebraska teams. But this just got to a point where my phone's
You good?
It's not me calling, Tony.
Okay,
it's all right.
I got it off. So anyway, so I've spoken to Trev, I've spoken to Mickey, Mickey Joseph, who will be the interim head coach. Who I just love this guy. Maybe the best recruiter in the country, Joe. I don't know if you know that. Tremendous recruiter, and good football man, knows the game. We've turned the page. Let's Nebraska people. Let's get behind Mickey, and let's give him everything we got. So, let's give him a shot to be more than just an interim head coach. Although they're gonna make a nationwide search, but I'm excited that Mickey's gonna get his shot.
Joe Washington, Tony Davis with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Joe, I'm going to flip this question around to you. We asked Tony, it's a new era for Husker football now with Mickey Joseph in charge. But we're 2 games into the Brent Venables era at Oklahoma. I just want to ask what you've seen so far from this Brent Venables-led team and what your thoughts are on what Venables has been doing so far at Oklahoma. What can Husker fans expect to see?
Well, I think you can expect to see a group of players that are playing with a lot of emotion. I think, especially on defense, I think the role of our offensive players have sort of been pretty consistent over the past few years, and I think that has basically been the same so far. This year, we still have a ways to go at this particular point, but we are going in the right direction. We are we're a lot more aggressive on defense than we have been. Tony and I always talk about why do you rush 3 when you can rush 4. So I'm pleased with the direction that we're going, and I always recall the game that we had against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl with Coach Venables of the defense, and how aggressive and we were on defense at that particular, juncture is the way I see us now. And I'm really happy about that. Really happy about that.
It's Joe Washington, Sooner great, Husker great, Tony Davis, the rivals clashing yet again. And I'm in agreement with you, Joe and Tony. It'd be great to get Oklahoma, Nebraska together again. More than just a 2-year spurt here and there. Now, Nebraska needs to cut up their game. Oklahoma's rolling. They're top 10 right now and have been. But, man, a lot of my childhood growing up was you two guys squaring off. Elijah, I know it was more Big 12, so it was probably every other year. But it determined the Orange Bowl and who was going to play for a championship. Cigars, also on our mind. Tony Davis, Joe Washington at Jake's Cigar and Spirits, 14th, North 14th in Lincoln, Thursday. So get your Sooner, your Husker weekend kicked off the right way with Tony and Joe, 6:30, Cigars of the Century down at Jake's. Tony, before we wrap, partner, I want to get your X's and O's take. And right now, I think the crowd's going to be nuts. I think there's going to be juice behind Mickey. Totally agree with you on that. How does Nebraska keep this close, or dare I say, pull the upset off?
Well, we got to be able to control the ball, which we haven't been able to do. Even the game we won, we weren't controlling the ball that well. But we have some. Joe, we got some backs. We got Anthony Grant and this Allen kid. these kids are studs. Holy smoke, they're the real deal. They got size, speed. We got the ability. We got the players to do some of the things that you and I talked about us being able to do to win football games.
Right.
But this Oklahoma's play is just getting their feel of what's going on. They're going to be tough to beat. We're going to have to play error-free football, nearly perfect football to win this game. But we can win it. But we've seen crazier things happen. We went down there last year and nearly won that game last year. Probably should have. But again, one of the reasons why Scott's not here is those one possession losses that we're familiar with. Let me say a couple more things about Joe real quick. You two guys got to do this. Look up on YouTube TV Joe Washington's punt return versus Southern Cal. Okay, you might show that on this on this podcast.
Send it to Lincoln Riley too.
Yeah. Just Joe Washington punt return versus Southern Cal. Watch that. Number one. Number two, I had the distinct bad luck of having to play against Oklahoma when they had the best defense in the country for 3 years.
Selman's, right?
The Selman brothers, Rod
Rod.
You could name. There was about a dozen NFL players in that defense. I remember hitting Rod Show. Rod Show was coming down the line. He tripped over something. I hit him. I clocked him pretty good. Snapped him back a little bit. He gets up off the ground, looks at me, and starts smiling. I'm thinking, man, I may be in trouble today. But those we just happened to catch the greatest teams in the country for 3 years, and Joe and I become good friends over the years. And
because you were in Tampa with Selman, weren't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Leroy and Dewey.
Yeah.
And Greg Roberts. And Leroy I talked to Leroy a week before he passed away. He had that aneurysm. And he was something else. Leroy's country. Joe's laughing. He was country. We were down in the locker room in Tampa getting ready to go to a game. And I said to Leroy be country, high water pants to be up a little bit, I said to Leroy, Leroy, you need to have a party. He said, have a party. So what I got to have a party? I said, so you can invite those pants on down to your shoes.
Oh, wow.
And the brothers went crazy. He was pissed off at me for 3 weeks.
That's Tony Davis giving fashion advice in the 1970s. I love it. Joe Washington is with us. Sooner Great. They are going to be at Jake's 6:30 Thursday night. Joe, about a minute left here, and I can't thank you two guys enough. It's great to see you both again. A year ago, we were in Norman at Joe Washington's place. Joe's coming up on the road trip to be with Tony Davis. And it's going to be an incredible weekend, Nebraska, Oklahoma together again. Joe, your thoughts real quick. I got to get the perspective from you on what Oklahoma is ready for and they're walking into, in your opinion.
Well, I always tell folks, that football ain't round, so you don't know what kind of bounce you're going to get. And I think this is football is a game of emotion. A lot of teams that have been counting out have played at home. They've got a lot to play for. They've got a lot to lose. So I think we're walking into a place where guys feel they have something to prove. And I think, that's always a dangerous situation. No matter how good you are on another team or what your record is, when you get out there in the middle of that football field and you've got a lot on the line, and both teams do, but I think the Cornhuskers have a lot more to prove because they're at a different juncture, than we are. And I look for it to be a tough game. Hey, the fans are great. And I'm telling you, hey, with all the things, the Cornhuskers have been through as of, late and last few years, and those fans are still there, and they've always been there. They've got some of the greatest fans on the planet. And I just feel the place is going to be rocking, and Oklahoma is going to have to play error-free football. They have to come, and they're going to have to come with the same type of enthusiasm that I know the Cornhuskers are going to have, this Saturday. So I look for it to be a real good game. I really do.
Well, can't wait to see both of you. Can't wait for Nebraska, Oklahoma to kick off yet again. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Husker great, Tony Davis, Suter great, Joe Washington. One more time, Thursday, 6:30 at Jake's, downtown Lincoln. Go see Tony, go see Joe, and enjoy one of Joe's cigars. Fellas, appreciate you both greatly. We'll talk this weekend. You guys take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. See you later, TD.
My pleasure. See you, brother. I'll see you in a couple of days.
All right, brother.
See you, brother.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. It's time for a Tuesday with Kaz. Rick Kaczenski with us. Kaz, how's your Tuesday going, man? Thanks for the time.
Hey, bro. It's pretty good. Just busy at work here, man. But, can't complain, man. How you guys doing?
It's been a busy last 3 days with Scott Frost being removed and it's the Mickey Joseph era. And you have a national search also that's ongoing for the head job. The Sun Belt going 3-0 this weekend. Nebraska was part of that 3-0 number. But Kaz, everybody's been asked today, Iowa State, Kansas State. Kaz, are you interested in the Nebraska head job? Let's just start off with that.
No, I can't handle the media there. No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
so Kaz is a no.
It'll cost you. It won't cost you $15 million. You get me cheap. But,
okay, all right. Well, it isn't my money.
Much worse, right?
Well, listen.
I get you a few all-conference D linemen. I can promise you that. Give me a year, I'll get that done.
Hey, that would be welcomed for Nebraska fans. But Kaz, you've seen a lot of college football in your time at Iowa and at Nebraska, and you've also experienced the interim part too. How do you navigate that as a position coach and then part of a staff that's in transition?
Where you got to start is leadership, and it's not just Mickey's leadership. I think when you look at the press conference and how Trev has handled this, just go back to the last AD. Or 2 ADs ago, and how he handled the departure of a coach in comparison to how Trev handled this, and how professional it was, how the opportunity to speak to the kids, and how you felt like it was completely, thought out. This wasn't clearly an easy decision. I mean, you could hear it in Trev's voice. You could, I didn't watch it, but you could probably see it on his face. Nobody enjoys firing people that's a good guy, right? That was tough. So I think started there, with Trev. And I think that's where it makes the transition a little bit easier for Mickey. Clearly the right guy on the staff to handle that task. I know Mickey through Terry. I don't know Mickey, but I know Mickey through Terry. Terry and I are extremely close. That's an unbelievable family. It's a football family. It's a family that loves Nebraska. So, you have a guy here that understands Nebraska, understands the responsibility with not only, having to represent and the responsibility and obligation that comes along with wearing that helmet, but also, a guy that has been on the sideline now and understands that responsibility he has to uphold that tradition and try to start to build it back. Is it a tall task? Absolutely. But I don't think when you're looking at Mickey Joseph right now, I mean, nobody can work a miracle. Mickey didn't hire this defensive staff, but I guarantee Mickey knows that you can't play 5 in the box without any run support. So, I mean, he knows that, I guarantee you, and so does his brother, and so does his cousin, and so does a former D-line coach that's sitting on a couch on Saturday night watching the Nebraska game. There's just some things structurally. Can you flip it completely? Absolutely not. But you can give some things saying, "Hey, this is how we're going to do it." You got to make people earn things. So, and I think Mickey, I hate using the word. It's like I hate using these cliches, old school and that. But I think Mickey's a hard dude, man. Mm-hmm. And I think Mickey's been there. Mickey's worked his way up the ladder. He's been a player at Nebraska. And, he's been in the fire a little bit. And just having that voice, I think, there's going to be, a new tempo. And I don't mean tempo on the field. I think just a tempo about how you go about doing everything every single day that you're in that building, away from the building, and on the practice field, in the weight room, in the training room, anything that has to do with representing Nebraska in the program. So, I'm not saying anything derogatory about Coach Frost, but there's plenty of evidence there, and I think that's why Trent made that decision. So, let's go Mickey, man. I'm behind Mickey. I think the players are behind Mickey, and I think a big part of that, once again, is because of how this was gone about. Coach Frost was taken care of financially by Trev. Nebraska kept up their end of the deal. It was a quick decision. But it was well thought out. All parties involved were informed, and they mapped out a plan. Coach Frost had time with his team, had a chance to talk to them by themselves. Coach Joseph had an opportunity to do that. So everything was done the right way. So for as bad of a situation it is when you have a head coach fired, especially during the season, I think they went about. I think this is the way you had to go about it. And if other programs are going to do that, they're going to look at Trev and they're going to look at Nebraska and say, okay, this is how you navigate that transition. So I think Nebraska is very fortunate to have a guy on the staff like Mickey that's able to get in front of a podium. That's able to get in front of a team, and that's going to be able to walk that sideline and not be intimidated and not be overwhelmed with the responsibility and the obligations that come with being a head coach at Nebraska.
Rick Kaczenski's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, and Kaz, only 2 previous interim head coaches in Husker football history, and you're one of the fortunate few, we'll say that's had a chance to work under an interim head coach. What is that like behind the scenes whenever one guy goes out and you got the interim that's got to step up and fill the shoes? Well, what is that like behind the scenes, and what do you think it's going to do to the mood of this team moving forward?
Well, I think when you're looking at when you're looking at the situation that we were in compared to this, I think it's apples to oranges. Mm-hmm. We had end of the season, you're playing for a bowl game. You won a lot of football games together, been through the fire together, had a head coach. And I'm not saying, I'm just telling you I'm not saying, once again, I'm not kicking Coach Frost down. I hate when coaches get fired. So please don't, I'm not kicking Coach Frost, or nothing is, towards Coach Frost. But, we loved Bo. We believed in Bo. We didn't think that, we thought we earned the right to compete another year and coach at Nebraska, especially the way that we finished the season. Especially with how we felt, not to, sound like a crybaby with the lack of support. Just look once again, look how Trev has handled things. Look at the things Trev has said. Not only about Coach Frost when he was still the coach here, when Trev first got the job, but also about what Trev has said about how he's going to handle Mickey and stay out of it but just be a resource to be successful. So, what was really hard for us, Elijah, is here we are, won 9 football games with a lot of adversity during that season, just like every year. And as you guys see, winning 9 and 10 football games, it's not easy in college football, especially when you're not from the Southeast anymore. It is really, really, really difficult. It's not by accident that App State, that Georgia Southern, that Troy. You go down the list. There's a lot of good football players in the Southeast, and that's the reality. Winning 9-10 games it's become a lot more difficult in 2022 and in 2014 than it was in 1977 and 1997. So, but here we are. You got a coach, you got a staff that didn't qualify. So just to give you, a little snapshot of what it was like for us is, I'm at breakfast getting a call from, I can't remember who, saying, come in, we're going to have a meeting, and won't tell us if we're fired or not. We have a meeting saying, Bo's fired. We didn't get in front of our team. We didn't get in front of our players. We're told to stop recruiting the guys we're recruiting. And then, we all talked to Bo, and Bo says, hey, man, I didn't get a chance to talk to the team. They got an email saying Bo's no longer the coach, man. So it was just handled poorly. And then here you are. We're trying to get ready for Southern Cal. Clearly, Barney was just the guy, and this is, once again, a credit to Barney. Barney didn't act like he was the head coach. Barney still acted like he was the offensive line coach. He just took on another role of, going to the podium, speaking for the team. He did a, very articulate and great job of that. But once again, he was a Nebraska guy that understood Nebraska, understood the responsibility of being the head coach at Nebraska and representing a blue blood program like Nebraska. It wasn't too big for Barney, but Barney just let us coach. All Barney did, hey guys, this is our schedule. What do you think? This is how we're going to practice. I tell you, the most difficult thing was seeing some slappies with a losing record walking around the second floor. Well, here we are with 9 wins, and you got some clowns coming in that don't know anything about Nebraska, have a losing record, didn't qualify for a bowl, and, they're looking at your office, trying to figure out how they're going to put their lounge chair and where they're going to put their pictures up on the wall. So, that was a really difficult part for us. So, it's never fun, but I think, what you have with Mickey is still you got a lot of football left. So you got a staff here with a lot of football left. You have a lot more opportunities where when it came down to us, that was the last game we were all coaching together. And, in the meantime, you got to worry about your family. It's the holidays. You're going to a bowl game you really don't want to go to. You got a clown staff with a losing record walking around your hallway, looking at your players coming out to practice, looking at these guys like zoo animals. And, these are your dudes, man. It's a sad time, man. I remember the last day walking out to the parking lot, man. It sucked. It sucked because I knew what we had coming back. I knew what we had invested. I knew how we felt about those players and how those players felt about us. So it was difficult. Where I think it's a little bit different now, where these, Mickey and this crew, they got an opportunity. They got an opportunity to keep their jobs. They got an opportunity to stay at Nebraska, to turn the corner, to go out and win some football games. So I think that's the difference, Elijah. That Mickey being the interim and then having Barney in the situation that we were in.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
A few more minutes here with Rick Kaczenski. And Kazzy, you've spent a lot of time around 18 to 22-year-olds, and I'm almost in that same range. So do you worry about the psyche of these kids after their head coach gets fired and, feeling partially responsible or something? Because, just using my situation as an example, if Schmidt got fired tomorrow, I'd feel partly responsible.
Elijah be jumping up and down. Get out of the studio.
But do you worry about the psyche of those kids?
If Schmidt gets the axe, it's his own fault. So
Kaz has got a thought bubble right now. Alcohol-related incident, Schmidt.
No, once again, I think Elijah. I think it all depends on what was difficult for us is. Here you got finals. You got one game left with a lame duck staff. Me screaming at Randy Gregory to give more effort, or to chase the ball 40 yards down the field. But I was smart enough to understand. Humans in the situation we were in and what I was going to ask of them. What we did, we prepared our guys. I think I did the best of my ability to prepare my guys to play against Southern Cal. But I think, you got a team right now that's 1-2 that has to play 9 games that's played one conference game. So they still have everything ahead of them. So I think it's just a really, really big difference when you got one bowl game left and you got a lame duck staff where you're going to have a staff that's together a minimum of 9 more weeks, not including a bye. So these guys are going to play a lot of football together. There's still a lot out there. I mean, let's be honest, the West stinks. I mean, the West is out there for the taking. Anything can happen. Nebraska's scoring points, okay? It's easier said than done. This team needs some confidence. Maybe with a new, I think sometimes instead of looking at a negative, man, there might be way more positives to this than there are negatives. So, these dudes, I get it. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. I know they came to Nebraska for Coach Frost, but like I told my guys when I was coaching there. It was funny. I used to say to them all the time. I said, who was the D-line coach here in 1979? They'd look at me. I said, who was the D-line coach in '83? None of them knew, obviously. I said, exactly. I said, so I started naming players. They knew who those guys were. And like I told them, I said, guys, this is a stop on the map for me, man. I love it here. It's a great place. But my alma mater is Notre Dame. That's where those guys grow. That's their school. Right? Nebraska doesn't belong to the coaches. Nebraska belongs to the players. Yeah. So I think, that's the approach, man. I think that's the mentality that these kids have. So I wouldn't be concerned. I think they might play a lot looser. I think that, I think there's a lot more positives and a lot of things that'll be beneficial. Maybe a new schedule, maybe a new fire under their tail. Maybe some more obligations, for them that they didn't have. A pregame routine, practice week routine. What are you doing on your own? But like I said, there's a lot of football, man. Everything is still ahead for these guys, right? I mean, they're not a bad football team. There is enough out there to win games, man. This isn't an offense that's averaging 7 points a game. Right? This isn't an offense. I think I have as many catches as the Iowa receivers right now. So we're not talking. And Iowa will get better. They always do. But I mean, it's not doom and gloom right now. I hate to say it because I hate it's awful. I don't care if you got 15 million it can't fill the void on. Something that you're passionate about and that you weren't successful at, and it was on a national stage, right? Mm-hmm. There's not an amount of money that can make you feel good about, especially a guy who played there, won a national championship there. Who the hell didn't want that to work out, right? Who didn't want that for Scott to be successful and not be there for 20 more years, right? It just didn't work out, man. That's terrible. It's going to be terrible for his family. I guarantee he's not sleeping much. He's not thinking about money or anything like that. He's thinking about he didn't get it done, and it's terrible. But I think, this might be in a shot in the arm for these players. Just, hey, a new start, man. We're 0-0. We've got a great opportunity this weekend. I mean, Oklahoma's a good football team, man, but you're coming into Lincoln, playing a team that really has nothing to lose, man. Sometimes these guys, they play a lot looser. I mean, they come out firing up. And like I said, Mickey's a smart dude. Mm-hmm. I guarantee, he's talked to Terry. He's talked to Vance. You can watch it on TV and see structure problems and make a fix here and there. That can change the whole landscape of a scheme. And, Oklahoma's going to come in, try to tempo and all that. But, Nebraska fans are going to come out, and it's not an easy place to play if the players give the crowd something to cheer about, man. So that's what I'm anticipating. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for Mickey. I'm excited for Nebraska. But Elijah, man, you know what? These dudes, they've been through the fire, and it's like getting in a boxing ring. You can't. Once you step on that field, you really can't worry about anything else except that task at hand. And go home at night right before you go to bed, feel bad for Coach Frost and his family, and all shucks and all that. But man, you still got a job to do. Once again, bigger. It's Nebraska, right? The players belong to Nebraska, and Nebraska belongs to the players, and that's ultimately what it's about.
Rick Kaczenski with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Nebraska and Iowa assistant. His perspective on Nebraska's transition. Kaz, we'll get you out on this, and love your perspective as always, man. The Nebraska job in general, not often do interims keep the job, right? It just doesn't always work out that way. Dabo is a glowing exception, where Clemson made the right call, and look how that's worked out. But as far as attracting candidates, because Trev's doing a national search, I mean, is Urban a guy that'll get a look? And I ask that because it's been floated out there by some national media. What about some of the other coaches out there? What's the job to you, the Nebraska job?
Yeah, I mean, well, clearly, if you're a head coach, especially a head coach out of work, man, everything looks great to you. So yeah, but obviously it's a great job with a ton of history, right? But I think you got to look at it as it is not going to be a quick turnaround, right?
Right.
It's going to be a process. It's going to take, would it be quicker with a guy like Urban? Absolutely, because not only does Nebraska, when you have a guy like Urban, not only is Nebraska a place that's heralded to recruits, it's the head coach. Kids will come there not because it's Nebraska. You'll have an opportunity with kids that are coming there because of Urban.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. A Tuesday with Kaz. Kaz, let's talk Urban.
I love Urban, man. I tell people all the time. It's easy. Hey, that's part of what we do, man. Hey, when you screw up, we're on the front page. That's part of it, right? That's part of the gig for us as coaches. That's part of it as players. But I know Urban going back to 1994. Urban's always treated me with first class. I know a lot of people that know Urban way better than me that are first class people, that are great people, and that I know these great people wouldn't be friends with Urban Meyer, associated with them, if Urban wasn't a good dude, because he made some mistakes. Yeah, who hasn't? Who hasn't, right? We all have. But Urban's been married, still married, got a great wife, got a great family, got unbelievable kids, and you know what? Bad guys don't end up with good wives and good families and good kids. It just doesn't work out like that unless there's a lot of luck. And there ain't much of that out there. So I'm a big fan of Urban. I mean, it'd be an instant shot in the arm for Urban or for Nebraska. The only thing with Urban historically has gone to places where it's been fertile recruiting beds.
Right.
You know, Florida, I know people may not look at Utah, but you have the junior colleges there. You know, Utah historically, there's, you know, you can get kids to Utah from that part of the country. You know, your bordering states, you can get into California, all those type of things. You know, obviously Florida. I mean, there's a reason why he's turned Notre Dame down in the past. You know, so that would be my only concern if Urban was interested in it and Nebraska was interested in Urban, but Urban had other opportunities, you know, say Arizona State.
Right.
You know, Arizona State to Urban might be more attractive just because of the recruiting, you know, being able to recruit your state. Being able to, you know, you have junior colleges within your state. You have a big population, you know, in your state. You know, you can get into California, and, you know, you might be able to beat a Southern Cal. You'll beat a UCLA. You'll beat a Oregon because Urban Meyer's the head coach. So, man, I got no qualms with him. Hey, we're all human, man. It's America, man. Give people second chances. Yeah, I just don't like when people talk about character, about people that they don't know personally. But that's also. But you know, we've all set ourselves up for that. We've all made mistakes. But you know, I like Urban. I think he'd be great for Nebraska. But yeah, it's still a desirable job. But is it? It's not. It's a difficult. It's a difficult job. It is. I mean, that's the facts. You know, you got to build it back up. It might not seem like a difficult job. How we view Nebraska is completely different than how kids view Nebraska. Man, you get them on campus, and man, you got great facilities, you got great fans, you're packing it, all those things. But man, these kids, you got to think, man, going back to 2015, for the last 7 years, what do they know about Nebraska?
Rick Kaczenski with us, Hail Varsity Radio, a Tuesday with Kaz. Kaz, excellent perspective as always. We'll holler next week, bye week, but we'll recap Nebraska, Oklahoma with you. Always appreciate your insight, man.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on, guys.